Welcome to What to Do When, a podcast for when you're feeling a little lost, low, or lonely in life. This is a space for honest conversations about just how damn terrifying, messy, and confusing life can be. Figuring out who you are, healing your wounds, finding the right partner, building an amazing career, it's a lot. We're going to open up, unpack, and normalize all the big, complicated emotions and struggles in life. The anxiety, the self-doubt, the overwhelm, and the other spirals it's so easy to fall into. Because I find that the more that we open up and get real, the more we can learn, and the less pressure that we feel to have it all figured out and to be perfect all of the time. And this is the sweet spot where healing happens. So let's get into it. Welcome back, my friends, to another episode of What to Do When, and we're going to dive right in today. I'm short on time, and I'm sure you are too, so let's go. Consider this episode your permission slip to pivot. This episode is about giving yourself permission to change directions, to walk away, to say, no, this isn't working anymore, even when your mind might be screaming at you to stick something out. This is something that I've been creating a lot of content on this week on social media, and to be honest, I've probably gotten more messages back than ever before. Turns out that so many of us come up with a plan for life, for love, for career, for, family, or whatever it might look like. And we come up with this plan, we work really hard at it, and some time passes and maybe it doesn't go the way that you think it does. And I know this voice. I know the voice that says, I've already invested so much time, or what will people think if I quit or give up, or I thought this was the one if it's your relationship. And whether it's, the job that you thought would be your future lifelong career and be amazing, or the relationship that you thought was going to be forever, or even a business idea or something that, looked really good on paper. The reality is that pivoting or changing the plan can feel like you're failing. And this is a real sticking point that I've noticed not only in my own life, but with clients over the last month or so, is that we can stick things out for a lot longer than we necessarily need to. And I feel like for me, the older I get, the more precious time feels to me, and the less time I want to invest in things that don't make me feel good, that don't really light me up. And it's been a constant lesson and a journey of continuing to notice when, this really icky, sticky point of when is something genuinely just not for you anymore, or just the plan is not going the way that you wanted it to, or when is there a little bit of resistance, a little bit of inner work, a little bit of, hustle or pain or things that you get to struggle and work through that's part of your journey. And if you're someone that's on a healing journey, you probably really struggle with that, because in the spiritual self-help self-development world, working through resistance is praised a lot. And I personally have found myself thinking that there's this big piece of resistance to work through, only to then come to realize, oh, this wasn't meant for me. And it's been this shocking moment where I've gone, oh, I genuinely just needed to pivot through. We have been conditioned most of our lives to believe that quitting is weak and staying is strong. We believe that pushing through, is the noble thing to do. And I've really noticed in my life and so many of the chats that I've had with people recently that sometimes sticking out or sticking things out is the exact opposite of the strength that you want to gain. Sometimes it can actually become self-abandonment. It can become you staying in the job or the relationship or the plan or the business or the country or the house that isn't working, the friendships that aren't working. And sometimes it gets to a point where it's not you building resilience, it's ignoring yourself, it's ignoring your body, your intuition, that is whispering to you, or maybe it's gotten to the point that it's screaming at you that this isn't right anymore. And this is the really tough piece, is being able to know that not every moment of discomfort means that it's time to pivot. Sometimes it is just resistance. Sometimes there is things there. And I've certainly felt that for me in jobs, in business, certainly. Even with this podcast, I'm not going to lie, I went through a moment there where I thought, oh, maybe this is just not meant for me anymore. But there was actually quite a bit of resistance that I had to work through. Dating and relationships, 100%, I felt this too. Resistance is the fear. It's the nerves. It's the wobbles that you feel right before you do the thing that really matters. Like starting the podcast and hearing, your inner critic say, who do you think you are? That was my personal example. That is resistance. That is something that you can work through. But when something's actually just not meant for you, that misalignment feels like dread. It feels like your soul is being sucked dry. It's waking up every day and dragging your feet. It's your values being completely out of sync and conflicted with what you're actually doing. That is not resistance that you are meant to overcome. That is not your sign to dig in and to stick it out. That is your sign that it's time to pivot. So I really want to see what happens today when you decide to officially give yourself permission, to write yourself a little permission slip to say, pivoting is not giving up. Pivoting is a form of self-leadership. It's you saying to yourself, I trust myself enough to change direction when something is not working. I trust myself enough to listen. I trust myself enough to explore when something is coming up. And you don't need anyone else's approval to make this call. If you know, that is enough. This could mean, walking away or ending relationships or friendships that no longer feel safe for you or good for you or expansive for you. It could be walking away from a job that looks amazing on paper, that looks great on your CV, but makes you fucking miserable every fucking day. Maybe it's changing your business plan. Maybe it's changing your degree. Maybe it's scrapping the 5-year dream that you had. Maybe it's changing from the idea of pursuing wanting to save for a house and instead deciding I want to spend this money on something else, or I want to put my energy and effort into something else. Whatever it is, I just want you to hear today and to remind all those parts of your brain that tell you that you're giving up, that you don't have the guts, or you're doing something wrong, or you're not working hard enough. I want to tell you in that voice that you're not flaky, you're not failing. This can be a very powerful moment where you choose yourself. I really think it all depends. The decisions that we make in our lives, you can drill it down to 2 things. Is this decision coming from a place of fear, or is this decision coming from a place of love? So I will leave you with this today in a super short episode. Where in your life are you forcing something because you think you should stick it out? Heavy quotation marks on the should. Anytime you hear a should in your head, that is your sign to explore. That is your sign to dig in, to query. Where are you ignoring that quiet or potentially maybe very loud knowing or voice or truth inside of you that maybe craves something different? You don't need anyone else to tell you that it's okay. But if you are looking for some comfort, for some reassurance, for some expanders in terms of how powerful pivoting can be, please let this be your permission slip. Please let this be your reminder that you're allowed to pivot. You're allowed to change your mind. It doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're giving up. Make sure that you do the work. Make sure that you really sit with yourself. I always love the book. I've lost the name of the book in my head. Oh no, I've lost it. But in the book, she talks about literally going into her closet, closing the door and sitting there and allowing some time and some space and some quiet to try and really reconnect and listen to that voice inside of yourself. Most of us live very busy lives. It's very easy, and I find myself getting stuck in this constantly. It's very easy to just get on with things. It's very easy to slip from that consciously choosing to unconsciously just going through the motions. I know that you want an amazing life, and you have to make those decisions for yourself very intentionally. You've got to do what matters. So permission slip today and reminder today to do what matters and give yourself the understanding, the compassion and the support. Give yourself the trust, give yourself the belief that you will know what is not meant for you, and watch what happens from here. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be back with you next week, and remember that you are always doing enough. I think I say this at the end of every episode, but I find it, and I personally like giving these reminders to myself when my inner critic arises, which it so often does, that you're doing enough, you're being enough, you are enough just because you are. Your productivity has nothing to do with the value that you possess as a human being. You're loved, you're supported, and you've really got this. I'll see you next week.